since we released the documents in, when was it, April or May? A couple of months ago. It's been discussed in branches, it's been discussed in provinces, regions, in the leagues, as well as in the alliance. The major focus of the presentation that we made to plenary was to look at what is then the program of action that we need to implement to be able to look at decisively moving towards renewal. One of them is the first one is with regards to how do we define the mission of the ANC today? Now, I'm sure that Comrade Tabang, when he briefed you, spoke about the 5 pillars of transformation, that we need to look at transformation with regards to the economy, with regards to the state, with regards to the battle of ideas, with regards to issues of the organization and what we call society broadly, as well as the international terrain with a focus on the African continent. But in addition to that, our society has changed. We've got a middle class that have doubled over the last 20-25 years. We've got a growing informal sector. You've got a small business sector. You have a population, and particularly a younger population, that is more educated than previous generations, but at the same time face challenges in terms of finding work opportunities and economic opportunities when they leave. We've got, and this is the paper that Comrade Gwen Ramagopa is presenting now, you have advances that we've made in terms of gender equality, but at the same time there are pushbacks in the form of the pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide that we see. The violence more generally in our society. So we need to ask the question, in terms of the dream of a non-racial, non-sexist, united and democratic and prosperous South Africa that we championed since 1994, how do we bring that dream back on track and ensure that society buy into that dream? And in that regard, we've looked at, the NEC has appointed a renewal committee that is developing, and we will present it to National Conference, a vision for a renewed ANC, but also our program of action in terms of the country towards 2032. That's one aspect of renewal, because renewal of any organization is not just only about the people, but it's also about the ideas and the vision that you have that unite the organization as well as society. So that's one area of renewal. The second area of renewal has got to do with how do we ensure that the members and leadership that we have in an organization represent the best in society. Our constitutional amendments that suggested, for example, that we need to introduce in our December conference much stricter requirement for ANC membership. For example, at the moment, if you pay 20 Rand a year, you can join the ANC and there's no other requirements to join the ANC. What we want to do and what they're proposing is that we need to look at all sorts of different criteria, that we need to vet all ANC members to make sure that they are not corrupt, that they do not have criminal records, and all of those kind of things. That is what the commissions will be debating from tonight onwards, and then going back to our branches leading up to National Conference, because National Conference is the only one that can make constitutional amendments to the effect. But in addition to that, we're also looking at how do you invest in the development of our membership. Like any political party, you need to invest in the people that's in your organization, that if they're councillors or if they're a branch secretary or if they're a member of the Youth League or Women's League, you need to build leadership. And we've established the Owar Tambo School of Leadership, and we're looking at how do we need to ensure that we invest more in leadership development and capacity building at all levels of the organization. The third area is to strengthen and look at our integrity measures as well as our disciplinary measures. Now, 54th National Conference has established a whole range of different measures. For example, it looked at strengthening the Integrity Commission, and that's what has happened over the last 4 or 5 years. It's introduced the step-aside guidelines. It also called for the establishment of the Commission against State Capture as one of conference resolutions. We now have the outcomes Policy conference will have to look at all of those things and then say, what do we need to do to be able to make sure that we address the questions that's been raised by that process, but at the same time assess whether the measures that we've introduced in the 54th conference have borne fruit to be able to deal with these issues within our ranks. So that's the third area that we're looking at a program of action and proposing to National Policy Conference. The fourth area relates to questions about how do we modernize our system, our financial sustainability as an organization, our systems, for example. One of the conference resolutions that we've introduced is to modernize an online membership system. So it went live in 2020. ANC members can now manage their own membership. Of course, the system is not perfect and we're improving it as we go along. But it means that we have a system where we can keep track of who are our members, what are they doing, what role do they play in society, and be able to then look at how they do then development to be true agents of change. And then, of course, the issues around how do we build capacity in the different tasks that the ANC we have, whether it's in the international terrain, whether it is in government, the state capacity, whether it is with regards to our public representatives, and all of the 5 pillars that Tabang spoke about. The final area of program of action that we're looking at, and of course there's others that will emerge from the policy conference, is to do with the question about leadership selection and managing succession. Now, policy conference, or the last conference, 54th conference, said that we must have an electoral committee that are able to implement the eye of the needle document. And that electoral committee has come up with fairly comprehensive rules on the basis of which we will elect the NEC at the end of the year, and then from there towards PECs and RECs and our branches. And part of the purpose of that is to ensure that when we elect leadership, we elect the best amongst us, that elects on a non-sexist basis, that we elect on the basis of the diversity of the challenges that we face as a movement and as a country, and that indeed we emerge from that conference with a leadership that we can say that they will drive and will take forward the renewal of the ANC in the next coming period. And as I say, these are the suggestions, some of the suggestions that we made to policy conference. They're going to be discussed and debated tonight starting tonight in commissions, continuing tomorrow. Tomorrow's commissions will not just only looking at organizational renewal, gender and the balance of forces, but also looking at the economy. We'll be looking at international relations, issues of health, issues of education, to look at what progress have we made or not made in each of these areas, and then to look at what needs to be done to be able to make sure that we strengthen those areas. Of course, in any organization, when we need to introduce, let me not say want, but need to, because of this existential crisis that the ANC face. We must introduce these changes. We must renew. We don't have a choice anymore. There will be resistance. And part of the task of the program that I'm talking about will have to be to build a critical mass of our structures, members, cadres, leaders that are committed to a program of the renewal of the ANC, and to be able to isolate those elements that are not in favor of renewals. One of the things that both in the President's opening address, and I think a couple of days ago that President Mbeki said at the memorial service for Deputy Secretary, the late Comrade Jesse Duarte, is that Across the country, you have thousands of ANC members that want to make sure that the role that they play makes a difference in their community. The role that they play as public representatives, as councillors, make a difference in the lives of their communities. We've also reported through the TG at the plenary that in December last year, 90% of ANC branches were not in good standing. At the moment, after the process that we've gone through, over 4,000 branches have gone to BBGMs, and they are in good standing. So there are possibilities, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we remain the course in the interests of making sure that change happens in the country, and that indeed we are able to go back to the core values of the ANC, as well as to go back to being the servant leadership that the movement have been since its inception in 1912. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Comrade Phoebe, for that comprehensive overview. Surely it empowered journalists to understand what we mean when we talk about organizational renewal. I'm going to open the floor for questions and just indicate that Comrade Gwen is already here, which means that at the end of this briefing, we'll immediately move to the next one. So can we open for questions? Okay, Moloko. Where's the roving mic?
Thank you. Moloko Mloto from ENCA. When you say you want to introduce stricter criteria for new members, some people would say you possibly are saying that the problems of the ANC, corruption, whatever, are created by new people. And such cynics will say, actually, it is people who've been in the ANC for very many years. But also, second question about the women. Why is it so difficult for women in the ANC to be elected into, say, positions of chairperson of a province or secretary? It's as if you always prefer them to be deputies. What's so difficult about that? I mean, you were celebrating the first woman to be elected deputy chairperson in KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
Lizagatandwa Mail and Guardian. In terms of strengthening the integrity committee, what exactly does that mean exactly? Do their decisions or findings become binding? Is that something that would be discussed?
Hi there, it's Govin Whittles from ENCA. Your discussion paper proposes scrapping voting in slates. What proposal do you have to actually make that happen? And right now, anyone that appears in front of the Integrity Commission is advised that anything they say can be reported to the police if they incriminate themselves. That's proven to be a real stumbling block for the Integrity Commission. Has there been a debate around that and any attempt to change it? And then you also proposed that candidates for leadership positions should reveal or at least be transparent about the sources of funds. Is there any structure that you've set up or disclosure mechanism? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hotatso Marisa at the Sunday Times. There seems to be a growing discussion and debate around how to deal with divisions in the ANC, that the leadership race, especially towards the national conference, is what has actually divided the party and keeps dividing the party. Now, in order to deal with that, the divisions, there seems to be a growing debate around, and proposals rather, around how to structure the leadership contest. One of those proposals that seems to be coming up is getting ensuring that a president serves for 2 terms, a deputy president, automatically comes in as the next president. There are growing calls around this in order to deal with the issue of divisions. Is this something that the ANC is discussing at the high level, because it's coming from provinces? And how, if it is indeed being discussed, how do you then deal with the issue of members who want to participate in the voting process? Does it not eliminate that their right to participate in their preferred leadership and the election of their preferred leaders? Thank you.
Those are the only questions. Okay, I'm going to allow GM to respond.
Okay, those are really good discussions. It's as if you're in the commissions. Okay, the proposal around membership does not imply that it's only the problem of new members. At the moment, there are 2 sets of proposals which address different or both dimensions of the challenges that we face. So the first one is the question about that if you join the ANC, so that's new members, you need to, in the same way that public representatives should not have a criminal record, in the same for members of the ANC, and the proposal is that that should go into the constitution of the organization. It's not there at the moment. It's only in our rules for public representatives. So yes, it deals with new members. The proposal about existing members focus on a discussion initially when the proposal came from I think the Veterans League, was that you need to everybody must reapply to become an ANC members. You then have a vetting process, and you then look at how do you make sure that members that you have in the movement do not have those kind of taints that doesn't make them suitable to be a member of the ANC. What is being discussed now in the proposals in the documents is to be able to make sure that you have to renew occasional as a member. The proposal is that after national conference that we have a process where we all renew our membership, and that we then all get vetted. All the members of the ANC then be able to get vetted, so that you're sure that when the membership that you have are members that indeed ascribe to an agreed set of values, a set of principles, a set of criteria that we have. So that's a matter for debate. So we're not talking only about new members. There's also measures that's proposed for existing members of the ANC, all of us, irrespective of whether you've been a member of the ANC for 1 year or 40 years of unbroken service. That is the suggestion addressing both those issues, which Commission will be debating. The issues around strengthening the Integrity Committee, part of it is to make sure that the provisions about the role of the Integrity Commission is strengthened within the Constitution, so that it's a constitutional structure. The responsibilities that it has, its role, its relationship to the NEC, whether it should or should not have provincial integrity commissions as well as the national integrity commissions. Those are all issues that's in the constitutional proposals that policy conference will be looking at, and then eventually for adoption at national conference. The question that was asked about whether when you go to the Integrity Commission, the Commission maintains the right to report it to the police if a crime is revealed, is a matter as part of the powers that I say and the terms of reference of the Integrity Commission that we will also be debating to see what is the best way forward so that we do put in place a system of tackling issues that's really against the value of the ANC. Okay, what is the next date? Okay, how do we deal with slates? There are proposals that the Elections Committee, chaired by Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, has proposed to the NEC, and the NEC have adopted them, that we need to look at in the way that we nominate leadership, that we address the gender question, but also make sure that we don't make it that easy for slates. So, for example, in terms of nominations, and it, to some extent, answer the question about why it's so difficult to elect women to other positions besides Deputy Secretary, that in the nominations to ensure that there's also gender equality, so that you don't find that you nominate 20 people and only 3 of them are women, and then we're surprised why only 1 gets elected. So that you also apply that gender equity principle in the nominations process that's going to start from the end of August. The second one of dealing with slate politics is how we conduct the elections. And what we do at the moment is in provincial conferences, we have elections for the top 5 or top 6 at national level, and then we go and vote as voting delegates for all 5. And it's then easy for slates, because what people simply do is you've got 5 positions, so you just vote for your slate. And that's what happened. So what the Electoral Committee proposed is to separate elections for the top 5 and top 6 position at national conference, so that you vote for, you say your president, SG and treasurer, and you then look at the result and announce the results, and then you look at the other positions, so that you can then reflect as delegates and say that actually, but those first 3 positions, you don't have any women. So what do we do to ensure that you have more women in the other people that you nominate? So it's a combination of those issues. The question that's being discussed about dealing with divisions, and I think that for most organizations, managing succession is a difficult matter. Some organizations structure it in the way that you suggested, that you then say that if you have a deputy, then automatically the deputy becomes the president. That's one way of looking at how do you manage succession, how do you reform your internal party electoral system. One of the issues that's in the discussion paper of the constitutional amendment is to say that at the moment the system of elections in the ANC is based on an electoral college. So what we do is we elect delegates to conferences, and they make up an electoral college of 4,000 people or 4,500 that vote for an NEC. Shouldn't we have a 1 member, 1 vote a system where what's the amount? We now got about just under 600,000 members in good standing, where all of them have a right to vote for the NEC. So we're looking at all of those different proposals that are being proposed, because I think that at the end of the day, we need to look at how do we introduce systems that give power to members, but at the same time maintain the character of the ANC in the sense of gender equality, in the sense of being representative of a broad section of our society, as well as the non-racial character, and making sure that it represents the diversity of the organization. And the country. So we are looking at all of those different things. There are no, holy cows? I think that we're going to have in the Commission a very robust discussion about all of those issues, because at the end of the day, the extent to which the renewal will happen is one, that we must agree that we face a problem and that it is an existential problem for the ANC. And secondly, once we agree that we face this problem, to then look at what are the solutions to that, and to be able to think outside of the box, but also to be committed towards seeing it through, be consistent about implementing the renewal mechanism, and to hold our leadership, our members, our cadres accountable wherever they are, whether they're in government, local, national or provincial level, whether they're in a branch, a region or province or in the NEC, to hold them accountable for implementing the decisions that we've taken and the tasks that we've given to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Phoebe. Now this brings us to the end of this segment. We'll now move to, we'll give you just, if there are those of you who want to use the bathroom, just a body break, 5 minutes, while Comrade Gwen is coming to the stage.